Hello, we're going to take some time now on tools for analysis. Again, I'm trying to get everybody onto the same page so that when we begin the analytical work, everybody has an understanding of what's going on. Now, if you've taken 311 with me, we've already gone through this, so it's a good review, and you should be able to do exceptionally well on this aspect of your project. As we keep going, I think we start to look at that. Financial analysis starts with financial data. Okay? Everything should be done in Excel that we're going to do. Okay? So the starting point is the financial information that we talked about in the 10K, and you can extract data into your worksheet. And you can do it either from the company's website, Edgar, or Bloomberg. You want to bring all your data into an Excel file. Label the worksheet 10K data. So all the information you're going to take from the 10K, you're going to put it in a worksheet within that file called Semester Research Project with your name on it. Okay? You're going to build everything else from that. So any formulas, analytical work, you're going to refer back to the original data, so that if you do make changes, everything will change throughout. So you'll need to build the formulas. The part of this is in analysis, we're peeling back the onion. Okay, each layer has a lot of different things, but we want to try to peel it back so we can get to the core of the matter. The 10K has so much information, it's hard to know where do you start. A starting point is needed, and then you work your way down to peel back the onions. So sometimes the information we get is so much in a 10K that we really want to focus it in. So we're going to take information, narrow it down to help us focus on where to look and what is important. Now, there's a certain, when we're doing this, certain organizational things that come into play. And a lot of this is about presentation, because if you have things that aren't laid out in a way that can communicate your idea, then it's not going to be effective. And a lot of times the organization really conveys your point. It also demonstrates your skill around Excel. First thing, use appropriate rounding consistently applied. Decimal points, whether in whole percentages, whole numbers, or percentages, don't run it out 20 decimals. That doesn't tell me anything. In fact, it's very distracting. So keep it in that decimals. Use whole numbers, not zeros. So if a 10K data has 10, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, just cut 3 of them out. Okay, we're thinking presentation. Dollars are at the start of a data range and at a final sum, not in between. You underscore, that's a single after a sum, double underscore at the final sum. Label clearly. Things need to be labeled clearly so that a reader can understand it. You may know what you put there, but I may not, or another reader of your analytics may not either. So it's communicating. Last thing, data in Excel should move from right to left, starting with the oldest to most current. So the most current will be on the far right. Why do we start with the oldest and go it that way? Because we're going to move into forecasting. And when we forecast, we're going to go off of the history and grow forward. That's why it's important. I'm say it again. Data should move from right to left, starting with the oldest to the most current on the far right. Summary data. So you start with the income statement. Not every line is needed. You have to make a determination of what is important as you start out. As we go on, we may need to find we need to go different. We start with a summary with numbers. Generally, 5 years is enough to create a trend and to be able to forecast based on history. We use the common size because it helps us understand relationships between key numbers. And the relationship, for example, if you're doing a common size income statement, sales is 100%, and we look at how costs and expense relate to the sales volume. It's a time series for a firm, so we can see what's happened over time. Comparison to other firms, a common basis eliminates size. So you may compare a big company to a small company, and on raw dollars that may not look comparable, but when we put it into a common size, we can compare. We can also look at things graphically because we're trying to visualize what's happening. That's how we deal with summary basis. So here's an example of, this is all the stuff that one company I looked at had. This is Steel Dynamics, by the way. But not all of this information is meaningful, okay? So it's so much to look at, we don't know where to look. So what I did is I organized the data in a logical model in my mind to keep it simple, to see the key things that are going on. And I looked at it over 5 years. Noticed I have the oldest to the newest. So we can see a trend here, up, down, up, 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 up. We can also see what's happened with gross profit. Now this wasn't here on their base financial statement, but I put it in because it's meaningful. And I came out to net income each year. So that gave me a picture, okay? So now I've taken all of this stuff and said, let's put it together in something that I can start with. This is my starting point for analytics. I common size them where everything is based off the cost of sales. So we can see that selling general administrative has run between 3.7, 3.6, 3.8, 4.8, now down to 4.1. You can see the gross profit. So this is going to help us hone in on what do we need to look at? What do we need to analyze? Okay, common size, first thing we want to do. I put it on a graph so we could see it graphically. Now, if we're comparing three different companies, the sales can all be different. So it's sort of hard to compare which one of these is which, you know, but if we switch it to common size, we can compare them, okay, and see that company A makes a 20% operating profit, 15 and 20. So each line is expressed as a percentage of the company's sales, so we can compare different size businesses. So when we keep going with summary data, the balance sheet data is next. Again, not all information is needed. There's certain categories you probably need to have, but I would suggest this is what you would look at is current assets, property, plant, and equipment, intangibles and goodwill, total, current liabilities, long-term debt, shareholder equity. Now, this is going to depend on the company you're looking at. If you feel there's a need to break it down further, that's fine. Okay? So it becomes a summary with numbers, common size again, and graphically. Here's their balance sheet. Do we need all this information? No. I summarized it into cash, receivables, inventory, current assets. So I narrowed it down. So I'm looking at potentially here 3, 4, 5, 6. I can look at 7 lines. So I'm trying to focus in on what's important here. I do it on a percentage basis, again, as a percentage of total assets and a percentage of total liabilities. This is helping me focus in. It's the first tool. And you can see on a balance sheet, you can do it any different way. So here's the summary. We collect data from the 10K and investor presentations. We want to use Excel. Okay, everything comes into Excel. You put it into one worksheet, and everything else you build going forward, what you just saw here, using formulas. You take the key categories. You got to nail them down. What's meaningful? Express them in both dollars and percent, watching commas, decimal points. Common size them. And